Hi there friends and welcome to my honest review of Per Aspera, the Mars Terraforming Simulator. I'm Icon and this video will give you an overview about what's the game all about, its pros, its cons, and a little summary between afterwards that. So overview wise, I already mentioned it is a game about terraforming Mars. So we have this wonderful globe available, which pretty much reflects the real Mars. As far as I know, it's a very precise depiction there. You got a lot of wonderful fluff and graphical effects. You got a really nice made campaign mode where you have to play a artificial intelligence computer which has been deployed by humanity to terraform Mars to make it a habitable planet. And the goal of the planet is quite clear. It's narrative too. You have to make this planet a green one. To do so, you build a base upon this planet and you build up logistics networks, research technologies, invite humans to Mars, and so on and so forth. And between that, well, that's basically your gameplay loop already. So what good things does this game do? I mentioned already that I really like the flare and I really like how detailed Mars looks like. Also, I really enjoy the detail level of things here, so I'm really having fun with that. But apart from the optics, the game itself is, well, not bad, but surprisingly shallow once you went over the rough details or the intro, more or less. Another good thing I have to say about this game, the story mode is awesome. Like, it has a lot of flair, it has a lot of ambience, and compared to the sandbox mode, I wouldn't even recommend playing sandbox mode compared to the story mode. So that's where I felt like all the love went in of the game. You have wonderful voice acting and such things, which really made the game quite memorable to me in the story mode. You also have a lot of decision making where you get to decide for yourself how the AI will develop, and that's really some good fun part. The base building itself, sadly, and that's really sad, I can't really mention it in the part where the game goes good, because the base building is very basic. You have basic materials which will be converted into advanced materials, which will be converted into services or other things. There's really nothing groundbreaking here. You have an energy network to work with, you have a scanner network, you have a maintenance network, you have resources which you get to strip down, and that's it. Nothing really new about that. And since there's such a vast lack of innovations here, I can only say the best part about base building in this game was going for the terraforming items, but not even those qualify, and we're gonna talk about that now, because I slide towards the negativity already, and let's get started. So first up, I really dislike most about this game the logistics system. Logistics is being done by worker drones which transport items from A to B. They do that completely autonomously, and you have really no say in what they do, except for you can select a single building and put a priority marker on it. Then it's prioritized. In reality, this only means that your drones are supposed to work there more often, but in reality, it just doesn't come together. As you see here, all these yellow pips on the screen here are prioritized buildings. I got way too many of those, and I'm going to talk about that why in a moment too. So logistics are done by these drones, which are not configurable at all, except for this prioritization process thing, which is really just a on-off thing, not even layered in priority levels from not so important to very important, and that's a real pain for a game which this is I'm in transition from mid to late game right now. and you see how large my whole base here already is. And having no options to prioritize logistics in any meaningful way is horrible. The only thing you receive are these prioritization thingies and storage centers where you can configure minimum amounts, but most of the time your drones don't even give a hassle about that. And even if the materials are there, that doesn't mean that your drones are going to supply buildings in the vicinity which will need those resources. So, which brings me to the next point on my negativity list. That's the distribution of resources is a nightmare. Because all these factories need certain resources to get somewhere. And since I can't configure anything in a meaningful way, it ends up with a lot of resource hubs are really not working out at all. Like here, my steel factories, for example, they are on an all-time low of efficiency, even though iron and carbon are always available. There's really no problem at that. I got 3 different steel factories. None of them work. This one is surrounded by, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different worker hubs. It doesn't do anything. They don't get their supplies. Because I can't assign a hub directly to a factory. Like, if I would be only able to tell the game, look boys, these 2 hubs ought to be supplying this factory. Done. That would solve all the problems, but it's sadly not possible, and therefore it's a real pain. And next step where I have to talk about negatives is, you see these roads here? You can upgrade those roads, but you got to do that manually, not by simply clicking them. No. That would be too simple. Your way of upgrading roads, let's say I want to upgrade the roads from this worker hub towards this other worker hub. I have to select that item, upgrade ways, and then I have to select this item, and then you see vaguely this white outlining, and that's where your roads will be upgraded. And to upgrade this cluster, I would need to select buildings to you see these are all roads which would be manually upgraded. It's nigh impossible. And even if it's doable, fun is something else, my friends. So, next part, research system and colonists. Oh dear, I'm so sorry about this because I really wanted to like this game so hard, but I just didn't manage to. So, research. Colonies need food and water to produce research points. Right now, I'm housing 1,800 people on this planet. We're producing 107 units of research per month. So, 107, remember that number. One colony produces 63 research points per cycle. And 32 souls is roughly 1 month. So, one of these colonies would be able to sustain 60 research points per month. Now, let's look at that. I got 8 colonies. 8 colonies, a steady supply of food and water, and 107 research points. And this is me after tinkering a while to increase that number. It's not possible to supply these buildings thoroughly with food and water, and therefore you have no chance of getting a research production online which is reliable and at a high level, which in itself would be like, come on, I'm a patient person. And well, then I got there. Like, all these late game techs need 50,000 research points. I'm at a stage of the game where I'm just literally waiting to be able to pump nitrogen into the atmosphere. That's the next terraforming step. And I need 50,000 research points to do that. Before I got there, I had to grind down 15,000 research points. That's an in-game time of 16 years right now. I'm 65 years in. That was the point where I lost interest in the game. Because, yeah, I could try optimizing that. I could try now to build food factories and colonies in the vicinity of the areas where I create lots of water and chemicals, which are the materials necessary for food. Yet still, even if I would do that, that would be no guarantee that this strategy would work. And even if it would work, mineral deposits do deplete. And once they are depleted, I would be forced to deconstruct all the colonies, deconstruct all the food facilities, and reconstruct them somewhere else. Guys, that can't be the way this game is meant to be played. I want some options to do some proper logistics, and that's where I really feel like logistics. Again, logistics. This game suffers so horrible from a poorly designed logistics system, which not only is a hassle in itself. I mean, sure, you got those hyperloops later down the road, which are just extremely fast highways, which are really the best thing about the game so far. I didn't mention them on the positives because they are not enough. They don't alleviate the problem enough. Like, my problem right now is that I got this super factory for water, but I got no option whatsoever to distribute that water correctly into my facilities. I just can't. The only option I would have would be to transport all my facilities down there, and the consumers for these goods as well, which completely nullifies the whole reason behind having the space. And like I mentioned, resource nodes are depletable, so therefore a lot of them won't be able to sustain indefinitely. So on top of that, you later receive also some combat system which will suffer from the same issues. I've read that in several reviews, that they to defend yourself against the attackers, guess what? You need factories that are supplied with materials all the time. And since that doesn't work with the colonies, I have little to no hope that I'm able to whip that to get that in shape with another thing. So I'd say if this game would resolve its logistics problems, I would totally recommend it for a very atmospheric and fun simulator, which has more focus on the narrative than on the actual gameplay challenge, which is totally fine for me. But right now, as it is, and here we go and do the summary, I have to summarize Per Aspera as a game which has so much potential, but it's locked behind logistics which just don't work. And right now, it just broke my patience. And I'm a very, very patient man. I'm playing incremental games that are lasting months to see some real progress, but this was just it's just boring. I would just have to run after mineral spots for the next 16 years. Because the worst part about all this, what I mentioned before, these colonies are working inefficiently, but they are draining my food and water nonetheless. Because if they are not receiving their full load, they're still consuming that stuff, even though they're not producing the amount of research. So I get only 1/8 of my meant production, but I still lose all the resources, and I'm still forced to collect new resources, even though it doesn't work out. The terraforming part, well, I didn't talk about that too much, I just noticed. But, well, as you see, it's that overlapped by logistics problems, but a lot of these mechanics just don't seem to work. That was very, very disappointing to me. Like, few buildings just don't seem to work out as the label says, but water under the bridge. A lot of these projects you can research are really cool and are a lot of fun to finally get into something positive again. It was my pleasure to collide a moon into this planet. I totally love the space elevator. I really love to create oceans and all these things. That was totally a blast. But summarized, Per Aspera is a game which is fun at the beginning, and it's slowly turning to be less and less and less and less fun the longer I played it. And to some point, I hit a spot where I was like, dude, I would need to invest 4 hours of gameplay just to get one tech rolling I need for the next step. I'm gone. I'm going to play something which is actually more fun. So right now, that's where it is. if the logistics would receive an overhaul, like imagine just this whole A to B transportation thing would be no longer that massive. Imagine you would be able to connect worker hubs directly to facilities. Imagine you would be able to distribute materials which are collected into storehouses directly into factories, whatever. Guys, it's the 22nd century in this game, so it could be something done. And until something is done, I sadly cannot recommend this game full out of my full heart, which is truly sad because I had a really good time with it when I started out, as you might know if you watched my gaming series about that. So yeah, I think it's fixable, but the few things I've heard about it so far sounded like the dev wasn't really eager to listen to gamers' voices so far. I hope that changes, because this game really needs just a few modifications on the logistics side, and I would even do a completely new review after that if these logistics issues would be resolved. Until then, that's all I have to say about Per Aspera. It's really fun to play until you hit those gameplay tours aspects, and sadly I don't see any way to resolve them. Feel free to drop me comments down below about your opinion with the game, or if there are any ways to resolve those problems, because I invested around 10 to 20 hours now into the game. I haven't counted, but that's the point where I give up. If I don't find any mechanism to resolve my problems, and I really look for even most finicky ways like building and rebuilding, I give up. So I've given up on that. Leave a like, leave a subscribe, and I'd be totally grateful about your support. But apart from that, I'm deeply hoping that my review was in some way helpful for you. Until then, have a good time and see you soon. Bye bye.